The question is now, how can I make sure that I'm walking towards my winnings and my risk in a fair manner, because I'm gonna be held accountable for the way I'm dealing with you to Allah, and I'm kind of holding against myself by being unjust vis-a-vis you. Now, do I want that unjust, abusive extra profit? Maybe not. Maybe it's not worth it. Okay, then I'm gonna deal with you in a fair manner. I'm gonna be obedient to Allah and just towards you to make sure that the risk I'm earning is halal, and I'm not going to have to answer difficult questions that both Allah and you can hold against me for Yawm al-Qiyamah. When you start thinking this way, you understand where we're coming from in an Islamic finance paradigm, which subhanAllah I found to be the only way that we can sustainably develop as economic agent, economic entities, families, corporations, of course, state, but also as a civilization and humanity. So then after we can get into the technicals, okay? But before getting into the technicals and boring the life out of you, we need to remember few principles, okay? Islamic finance principle. Number one, under no excuse, nor circumstances, no situation, unless life or death, where life is sacred and paramount. When we're talking in a normal dealing of things, riba is forbidden, is unacceptable. Paying it, receiving it, organizing it, writing riba is a no-go. We have to accept the fact that it is entrenched in many aspects of our life. I agree, where there is no denying that, okay? And we can get down the rabbit hole and talking about the whole monetary system and fractional reserve and fractional banking and central bank and what. Yes, we can. But to the best of your ability as a Muslim, you should say no and avoid riba at all costs. That's the number one principle. The number two principle is that our dealings as economic agents are underpinned by a fair profit and risk sharing. I cannot enter into a transaction where you are taking all the risk and I am guaranteed no risk with profit. This cannot happen. This is not Sharia compliant. This is not halal. This is not Islamic. When we are dealing into something, when we are entering into a dealing, me and you, to the best of our knowledge, with witnesses, we have to ensure, to the best of our mental ability, capability, and knowledge at the time, we're entering into a profit and risk sharing agreement where we agree that you and I are bearing certain type of risk and that bear certain type of reward, right? This has been, but it can't be a zero-sum game where I'm taking all the reward with no risk, you're taking all the risk with no reward or very little reward. Okay, that's the number two fundamental principle of Islamic finance and investment. And I would say the number three, yeah, there are some industry we are not investing in, but I think that's also, obvious: alcohol, gambling, and those explicitly haram activities. Okay. Pork. But I would say as a principle, also the question of this uncertainty, like I cannot sell you uncertainty. You have to be cognizant of where you're getting yourself into to avoid miscommunication, to avoid confusion, to avoid being duped, to be misled, for you to also be held accountable for whatever. If you don't know what you're getting yourself into is being hidden from you, then of course we can hold you accountable for getting into something haram or something detrimental or something. Yeah, of course, right? So since it is on, as we said initially in the paradigm, it is based on personal and community responsibility towards one another, then I have the responsibility and you have a responsibility. And for you to have a responsibility, you need to be aware of. That's why gharar, or unreasonable, is an uncertainty if we had to translate it. And the reason I say unreasonable is, of course, only Allah knows al-ghaib, the invisible, the unknown, and the future. right? So you can say, right, you can have full certainty of everything. Of course not, right? That's why I added the adjective unreasonable uncertainty. For example, I can come and say, Ya Muhammad Sajid, I'm selling you what's in my pocket for 10 dirham. You take or you don't take. So typically that's, maybe I have something haram in my pocket. Maybe, it's not worth it. Maybe I'm duping you. Maybe I have nothing in my pocket, right? So that's the reason why this principle is fundamental in the paradigm of Islamic finance and investment.